All right, everyone. Good evening, good morning, whenever you're watching this, and welcome to Right Away with Siddhant Shekhar. Today, on our first episode, I have a very special guest with me, Mr. Harihar Subramanian. Uh, we have a bond that we figured out much later. We were in the same college, though like separated by about a decade. But our books came out within about roughly, I'd say, 2 months of each other. And his debut is out now. It's called Hilarious MBA Memoirs. It's based around his time at XLRI and his undergrad, and everything that preceded it. Um, Harihar himself, he has been in the corporate sector for about 11 years now. He's worked with a lot of leading multinationals. He's worked with Mahindra. He's worked with Amazon. Moved around a lot, say HR, then sales, then customer success. So that sort of brings me to my first question to Hari. Welcome to Right Away.
Thank you, Siddhant, for having me. I'm pleased to be the uh, first guest on your show.
The debut also, but
Hopefully,
whatever's gonna go wrong is gonna go wrong with you.
with me as well. Okay. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So my first question is like, your book, Hilarious MBA Memoirs. It's like, it's like a direct promise and delivers on it directly. Is it like a sales tactic that you used? I don't want to confuse the customer. I'm gonna promise them something and deliver them immediately that.
Yeah. So, I never thought of it that way, honestly, in terms of the way you sort of, articulated it correctly right now. When I wrote the book, I just wanted it to, bring a smile on people's faces. And I'll tell you how it started. I was, and we've had this conversation before.
Right.
I have been an accidental writer. It's not like a lot of people, like including you, maybe you would have had some kind of a, you know, uh, inclination to write, maybe
Right.
writing essays in school, literature clubs, kuch to
Mhm.
hoga, right? I never had anything of that sort. And
Right.
while working in Mahindra, in one of the roles, I used to draft a lot of work, executive summaries and emails as the EA to the
Right.
head of sales. That's when I sort of built that skill, I would say, from a business context.
Mhm.
Then one fine day when I took a break, paternity break, to be a stay-at-home dad, then I decided, why not use this time creatively, and what is it, that I can do to bring a smile. So that's how it started. And I said, what can I write
Mhm.
confidently? And I thought it is something about my life. That's the only thing I can write with confidence and with, passion. And I said, why not look at my life in a very funny way and,
Mhm.
write like a autobiographical satire kind of stuff. And that's how the idea of the book was on. And then one thing led to the other, and then this one. So that's how it all started. And only one thing I used to sort of what helped me there was that time I used to send chapters to my wife.
Right.
Every 2 days I would write and send a chapter, and she would be like the first person to read and say, "Hey, look, this doesn't look like a anecdote. It looked more like a PJ. Isko hatao." So a lot of the chapters I removed it. She was the first editor, I would say, from a structural perspective. And then sort of went ahead and yeah, serendipity, and then the book came out. So that's the long and short of it. So never thought of it like a sales pitch or this thing. Just thought write like this thing and then title it, and somehow the title stuck at the end.
Right.
You know. So
So,
yeah.
given that you identify as an accidental author, when you when you had the idea and when you started writing it and then you were pitching it, what was the most surprising part of that whole process for you? Something that you hadn't thought about
Uh,
before.
I think I honestly found the whole thing pretty easy, I would say. I thought,
Hmm.
a lot of people tell me that, writing a book takes a lot, and it takes a lot, definitely, from commitment and, dedication and finishing the line. But because this topic was so close to my heart,
Right.
I found the process very easy. I never struggled to sort of, figure out or writer's block, etc., barring probably the
Hmm.
conclusion where
Right.
I struggled to sort of give a fitting ending, with
Right.
each chapter being funny, and what could be a climax, because
Hmm.
it's still a work in progress, and it's not entirely fiction, I would say, right?
Right.
So other than that, that was surprising, pleasantly surprising to me, the
Hmm.
whole process being so smooth. And then I kept the book in cold storage for about a couple of years. I resumed work, and then COVID happened, and then I moved here to the UK. Then I got some more time and sort of double hatted as a stay-at-home dad now here as well as a independent consultant. That gave me more time to
Right.
refine and bring the book to market. So that is the way. So the surprising aspect to answer your question was the smoothness of the writing process.
Hmm.
Now, what I realized, which is also a surprise to me after sort of launching the book, is the readership levels. I did not really expected that um, this is such a slow burn. This
Right.
in this
Right.
a lot of people have told me, but being in the
Hmm.
UK, the readerships and US in developed countries, like the readership is
Right.
much higher and
Yeah.
in general there. But
Hmm.
because I think as a society also, we
Hmm.
once people get into the work ex, I think reading is the last thing anybody would do,
Right.
right? People
Yeah.
would have a hard day at work, watch a movie, watch a Netflix series, etc. So
Hmm.
that sort of people have told me, but
Hmm.
once you sort of look at how readers are reading it. So I spoke to a lot of my friends who when did they read, how did they read.
Hmm.
Then I understood. Look, it takes a lot of time to sort of you know
Right.
uh, complete reading a book as a reader. That was also a surprise to me.
Yes.
I thought
Correct.
people
Yeah.
who have purchased would immediately read the book, even my
Hmm.
friends or family. Not even talking
Hmm.
about unknown readers, but
Hmm.
the customer life cycle of terms of finishing a book is also
Right. Yeah.
a surprise to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's something again, like, that was my point when I was talking about that. There's something, these are all things that you realize once you are into that process of, writing and pitching and then selling and promoting, And yeah, I think that's something very interesting. I had never really thought about it that way. So coming to the book itself, what's your favorite section in the book?
See, difficult to keep one favorite section, maybe couple of them, I would say.
Hmm.
I think the starting of the book itself, I think it sort of starts very well with the whole thing about Ratta and how we Rattafied in school, and
Right.
I think that came out very well in terms of, because
Uh-huh.
everybody who has reviewed it there on social media has sort of uh, talked about it. So I think it's this thing. So that was good. Then the where most of the book is about MBA, right? In
Right.
terms of life during XLRI.
Hmm.
I think two things in terms of there was a note I had written post
Right.
completing MBA in
Yeah.
terms of and you have read the book,
Yeah.
you remember, right? So that was something that is as it is, that was
Yeah.
something I had done in real life, and I picked it up
Hmm.
and I put in the book. So that was also something which I liked, because even today the feeling is the same when I read that.
Of
And
course.
9 out of 10 people who read, uh,
Hmm.
out of any MBA college who read that note or that part of the book, will relate to that. That
Yeah.
he or she also went through that same feeling when they graduated from that field. So these are the two, I would say the parts which I like:
Hmm.
starting bit and the part where you
Right.
sort of summarize your thoughts about MBA journey.
Yeah, makes sense. How do you think, like, when you're writing, and I find your book very interesting in terms of that, it's part humor, it's part memoir, and it's about your own life experiences, but it's a life experience that a lot of people share. So, when you talk to your readers, or when you're getting it reviewed and all of that, at that point, how did you see that, was it a lot of nostalgia, and did you ever feel that, it was the nostalgia that was driving people towards the book, and you felt that, अरे इतना अच्छा joke लिखा था यार, no one's really caring about it. Did you ever get that feeling?
No, I think more than nostalgia, I think what I understood from whatever I've spoken to and whatever people who have read have written to me, right? It really connects. Things have not changed. So a
Right.
lot of things what I've mentioned
Hmm.
uh, are still relevant now, although it happened to me, what, 12 years or 13 years ago,
Right.
are still this one. So basically, the relatability aspect is
Hmm.
very high.
Yeah.
So even somebody who's not from an MBA, a lot of people
Hmm.
have read, they also find it very, there's a high curiosity element. Acha,
Right. Correct.
this
Yes.
is what actually happens, and
Yeah.
behind the scenes, and ये सब भी
Yes.
होता है. So that those are the two kind of
Mm.
broad patterns I'm seeing. One is continues to be relevant. The
Mm.
second is wow, curiosity and the fun aspect of what actually happens in NBA. So
Yeah.
yeah, these are the two patterns which I could see.
Yes. And actually, now that I think back to it, I mean, I remember back when, at least when I was preparing, this is what, 6 years ago now. And there were a lot of people who, used to go to like Pagal Guy and all of those forums. And they used to be like, what is this college like? Does this college have a basketball court? All sorts of questions like this. So I think, like, in a lot of ways, the book also like pulls back the curtain that, what, beyond the mystique and the aura of it, this is actually what's happening. It's like 200 very messed up kids stuck together in a building at the end of the day.
True. I think I felt the same way when same thing that Pagal guy. Those days we had, I think, Orkut back
Right,
then.
yeah.
That's not even there. It was not even big. This was about 2008, 2009.
Hmm.
So we also used to have a lot of these things. Uh, and Jamshedpur that time was also like, uh, not like, let's say today still social media is,
Right.
far more prevalent. उस time पे वो
Hmm.
भी नहीं था where you could get a lot more information.
Right.
So it was like a curious. The city itself had a
Right.
curiosity or a mystique to it.
Hmm.
I don't know how it is today with
Hmm.
the advent of social media and everything being available. But that time we the first time we entered the city, for example, the railway station, it was all seeing such a clean city itself was a pleasant surprise. So yeah, so it's been a long way since then. I would tell you. You must tell me how things have been in your time when you read the book and when you just think it could change हुआ है या more the things remain the same.
So,
What has been your
my experience is slightly different because I've lived in Jamshedpur at 3 points in my life. I was there when I was very young, when I was, I think, 4 years old or something. Then I was there for about 6 months when I was 13 or 14. And then I went back for like 2 years during my Excel days. Because my father, like, he worked in Jamshedpur for a while, he was in Ranchi. So we moved around a lot. So I have seen like that city, there was a point where the city like sort of, it had just had like three boroughs. There was like Vishnupur, there was Sonari, there was Sakchi, and then everything else was like Telko, Adityapur, like on the other side of the city. And it was very weird going back. When I went back in 17, there was this one cold drink place. I don't know if you remember this or not, Vishnupur Chowk pe. Like this really big tree, uske andar there was this masala cold drink place.
okay? What's the
That
name of that?
Sheetal Chaya or something.
Ah,
Everyone just knew it Vishnupur Chowk. That's what it was called.
correct.
That place has been around since 1994. Because I have
Ah,
heard
okay.
stories from my father that we used to go there when I was like basically a toddler, and that place was still around when I went there in 70. I don't know if it's the same place or not, or
Oh,
like someone took over. But there was
ah,
like that one cold
yeah.
drink stand under that same tree like 25 years later.
Yeah, maybe. So I remember, I think that 2009 to 11, I think there was this restaurant come bar called Bloom's, which everybody used to go. I don't know if it's still there.
Blooms.
BLOMS Bloom's. Okay. And then that time a new place had opened called 60 ml.
Ha,
So
60
Bloom's
ml.
and
60 ml.
60 ml were the most frequented places. And then this Payal cinema had just been renovated from a single
Right.
screen to a multiplex in our
Okay.
year, in our second year, I remember. So everyone like, wow, we got a movie theater finally, and we saw some movies, and so that was a big deal that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how things are today.
So
So
Blooms,
yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know if Blooms is still around. 60 ml is. I think when we got to
Hmm.
college, the first place we went to from college was 60 ml. And I think Payal has shut down. But when we got there, there
Hmm.
was a new malls which had like a PVR or a Cinepolis or something. So that was like a four screen
Hmm.
theater that was there. So that's what we used to go watch movies there. And after a while, even the auto guys had like figured it out. कि हाँ ये XL के लौंडे हैं ये 12 बजे वाला show देखने ही आएंगे.
Uh,
So every time the show ended, we would like give him a call. He'd be like, हाँ I'm going to pick you up.
yeah. That's a good part of that. I think the city, a small city, gives
Yeah,
you that community and that close knit feeling. I think.
yeah,
I'm glad that that's still there even today.
yeah.
That's good. It's not like expanded like, you know,
Hmm.
let's say Bangalore. Bangalore in
Correct. Yeah.
20 years has grown exponentially.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Jamshedpur continues to stay that way in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. So, what were some incidents that you left out of the book? Maybe because they were too controversial, or like it was getting too lengthy. Was there something that you left out?
Good question. Nobody has asked me this before. Uh, I don't know. See, I've tried to recollect most of the incidences which
Hmm.
seem significant to, put it, at
Right.
least I put that. So I don't remember anything distinctly. Um, the social media incident, definitely I wanted to put from that, and how I got this one, because that really put me in my place. I was all over the place, so posting everything, and after that incident, sort of became like a
Right.
social media martyr, you can say, for quite some time. So yeah, but I think so. I've covered everything which is either
Mhm.
in way, some way, you can say controversial at that time, but seems
Right.
very humorous now. I don't
Mhm.
think anything has been left out for that matter. Yeah, probably some love stories of people, real life people, maybe.
Yeah. You only had like
That's the
300
only
pages.
thing. But
उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा time लग जाता.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't think much. Just thinking, I'm trying to recollect if there's any answer I could give you, but I don't think anything comes to mind.
Okay. So moving on, next thing, like
Probably, yeah. Now
हाँ,
that
go on. Uh-huh.
we think of, yeah, probably could have given a chapter on PlayScom. Maybe.
Oh yes, that would have been fun to read.
Uh,
That would have been fun to read.
yeah. Now that probably, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think if if you sat down and like
definitely.
tracked all 360, like in our time it was 360. I think back then yours would have been 120 or something. If you tracked all the stories, you could write an
Correct.
entire novel just on like those 3 days SIP. There's so much stuff that's
Yeah,
happening in
yeah,
those
yeah,
3 days.
yeah, yeah,
There's like
yeah,
enough
yeah,
material for a full length book
yeah,
there.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. But again, see, that's the thing, no? How much to, not drag it, and at the same
Yeah,
time
absolutely.
give
Yeah,
enough detail to keep the reader engaged also. That's
yeah.
the other challenge I have.
Mhm.
So I thought what I did was just about right for like a 2 hour read, or I don't know how
Right.
much time you took. Probably would have finished it faster, but I wanted somebody to read maybe 1.5 to 3 hours was
Yeah,
max. Some
like
people do it in 116, one sitting. Some people do it. So
yeah.
I
Basically, like
think
the ideal length
I
is like
probably,
one flight. That's how I put it. Most of
yeah,
the
one flight. Correct,
yeah most modern
correct,
bestsellers are one flight. Last I
correct,
think
correct,
3 or 4
correct.
new books
That's
that I have read, it's standard. You pick it up at the airport, you like finish it off or almost finish it off in the flight, and then you like wrap
almost,
it up in the
yeah.
cab ride home.
Correct. So I think that's the length of time people have average on an average
Mhm.
nowadays. It's not that
Yeah,
they can't read more, but that's the sweet spot, I would
yeah,
say.
exactly. And plus, on a flight, it's also that you're free from distractions. You're not getting calls, you're not getting
Hmm.
messages, you're not tempted to like
Correct,
pull out your
correct,
phone to check Instagram. So I think if you
correct.
can crack that airport market, I think that's the best thing that can happen to you as a writer.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a nice idea.
So, coming to your process, I mean, you had a day job, you work in corporate, now you're freelancing, you have a daughter. So, how do you balance all of this? You have a routine, or do you write when you feel like it, or you try to have X number of hours you fill in a week? How do you go about it?
See, one of my personality traits has been so far, at least. I don't know, it's a strength or a weakness, depends,
Hmm.
right? It's I am bad at multitasking.
Okay.
So if I take one project, I
Hmm.
finish that project, try to have minimal other projects,
Hmm.
and then do that. Whether it is work,
Okay.
outside work, like,
Right.
or at least have project in a similar space.
Hmm.
So that's why I wrote the book when I was on a break, right?
Right.
And then I've been writing since then. I've been writing articles and all whenever I get
Hmm.
time, and etc.
Hmm.
I've not attempted a full length book again. So what I'm trying to do right now is trying to, like you said,
Hmm.
build a process where probably give a day of the week or 2 days of the week to
Right.
focus. But I've not got there, to be honest with you. I've
Hmm.
just so whenever I fit, so I've now recently written a draft for a picture book for children.
Okay.
So I just was in the mood. So 2 days I just sort of wrote it, then kept it then
Mhm.
refined it, so something like that. So right now I'm writing when I have the mood, and I just try to finish it, because
Right.
when I start something, unless I finish it, I don't get sleep.
Right.
So that's been the process so far. May
Mhm.
not be sustainable. So yeah.
Right. I think one of the biggest challenges with that sort of a process, it works very well when you're doing articles, when you're doing short stories or picture books and all of that.
Correct.
But with a novel, it's not possible. You need
Correct.
like sustained
True.
effort
True.
because it's going to be 60, eighty
Correct.
thousand
Correct.
words. So
Correct.
I think,
Correct. Correct. That's true. Very true.
yeah. So what about like, do you have any plans about a next book or what's the next project that you're working on?
I don't know what to zero in. There are a lot of ideas in my
Hmm.
head. So there are some books I want to try in the business space. So
Okay.
I want to try different genres basically.
Right.
So before figuring out one genre and going deep,
Hmm.
so there's a children's picture book I'm working on right
Okay.
now. That's a different genre, purely
Hmm.
because I spend a lot of time with my daughter, and I
Right.
get some ideas based on those interactions.
Right.
So, so through my career also, I've been a person who's been quickly changing fields because of
Yeah.
one liking new experiences, and
Hmm.
getting newer things. So that's right now the state of mind.
Hmm.
Probably a few years down the line, if we sit together again, then I would have probably fixed on one genre. Probably like you do a very good job. Yours is a love story, and I think you plan to write a few in that domain, deepen your skill
No,
sets,
not
and
act.
then
My next one, the one I've completed next is a thriller. So even I'm all over the place
okay.
right now.
So yeah, I think till we figure it out, I mean, whatever
Yeah.
we like, that's the thing I would recommend for anybody.
And also, I think there's also this problem with that now that when you become like a quote unquote genre writer, then even when you try to do other things, it's very difficult for you to make that switch. Like when
True,
Rowling wanted to write suspense, she had to become Robert Galbraith. She couldn't do it
true,
under
true,
that
true,
Rowling brand. But there
true,
are like
true,
other writers who I see who like pull it off very well. Like for example, Stephen King. So King has written like his
true,
standard horrors. Then he has written his Dark Tower series, which is
true.
like pure fantasy. Then he's written like historical fiction, which is like your 1123, that JFK assassination book. So it's
Correct,
sort of, I
correct.
think, and most of it I think that as a writer, most writers themselves, we are very genre agnostic. A good story is a
True,
good
true.
story no matter where it goes.
Good stories
A
are good
lot of it,
stories. Correct,
yeah, a lot of it depends upon your treatment, how you go about that story, and all of those things.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So this whole this whole insistence of the industry on being like a genre writer, that you are this, so you write this, I always find that a bit
Yeah,
restricting.
yeah, I agree with you. See, if you look at it, if you take a parallel of art, right, to
Mhm.
movies, right, the good actors do all kinds of roles,
Right,
right?
exactly,
I mean,
correct.
whether Bollywood or Hollywood, they're not straight jacketed to,
Yeah.
chocolate boy romance or action or
Mhm. Yeah,
comedy. People do everything. That's
correct.
that's how you should be. The brand should sell, I feel.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I guess people also don't want to confuse the audience
Yeah.
from a publisher's perspective. They
Yeah,
want to have, you know, a stable roster, probably
correct.
for
Yeah.
those business reasons also.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
And I mean, it all of brings me to my next question. You have a background in business, and it's like a very varied experience because you've seen multiple things. You've seen sales, you've seen customer success, you've seen even HR. So, do you think that sort of helped you in planning out the promotions for your book, or figuring out how to go about it, or just a general understanding of the publishing space itself?
I think, see, yes, a big yes, because being especially in the sales, success, those kind of customer facing roles helped me a lot in terms of understanding the sales process itself, sales
Right.
cycle, sales process, objection handling, negotiation. So all those
Right.
things, these are all transferable
Yeah.
skills, or
Absolutely.
thing which you need to know. And digital marketing or social media is something in any field you need, and more so
Yeah.
with writers, I think.
Absolutely.
So that is something, as so being in, let's say, Mahindra, I was working very
Mhm.
closely when I was the EA, right? I was working with
Right.
the digital marketing teams on projects, etc. So a lot of these things at work actually helped me in terms of
Mhm.
uh, you know putting a plan, and it's still there is still going on because it's a long cycle. So there's still promotion plans, etc. But yeah, so being in Amazon, for example, helped me understand some aspects of Kindle. I could reach out to some folks who are there. So all my work experience is definitely yes in terms of
Right.
this one. The other thing was also helped me is reflecting on the various work experiences. So I have sort of subtly, if you have seen, put some of those elements in the book
Right.
plot
Yeah.
as well at
Yeah.
certain points where I sort of
Hmm.
found it relevant. So
Hmm.
definitely yes. From an HR standpoint, I think biggest skill is basically managing people and
Hmm.
understanding psychology. I think that plays a big role in when you interact with a publisher or
Right. Yeah.
when to have what kind of conversation. So yeah, definitely it helps.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. And
That's
I
the
think,
way I.
yeah, it also sort of like, it also sort of comes across in your writing as well as how I was following along when, you were doing the promotions and all. So like, tapping into the networks and, speaking to
Correct,
people
correct.
directly about it. I mean, I could all, and this is something I feel that, a lot of first time writers sort of miss out on. They're too focused on the craft side of it, but end of the day, this is a business.
Mm,
So
correct, correct.
a lot of people don't get into doing those things, which are sort of very quickly becoming a part of your job description as a writer. That if you are a
True,
writer,
true.
you
I
have
agree
to
with
have
you.
a.
I think see a lot of people forget that you have to sell yourself or you have to sell the book
Yeah.
a large part of it yourself initially till you become a big brand.
Yeah.
I think that is something somebody has to have that skill. So
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my friends who had also written a book
Hmm.
before I started. I was speaking to a lot of people. So
Hmm.
what he was telling me was, look, since you have a sales and marketing background or a sales plus HR background,
Hmm.
I feel you will definitely sell more than me because you will definitely
Right.
have some promotion in your mind or this thing. So those
Hmm.
kind of things help definitely. I would say.
Right.
Uh, certainly feel that in today's age, you need to have some kind of social media visibility,
Yeah.
writing or not writing.
Hmm.
You need to have, and that will obviously help you when you write a book. I feel.
Absolutely.
So craft versus promotion. I do agree to you.
What about social media? Do you like doing it? Do you can't stand doing it? How's that relationship for you?
See, it's up and down. I would say
Hmm.
there are times when you need it. There are
Right.
sometimes when you see too much of spend too much time, it gets to you, right? So
Yeah.
depends how you want to use it.
Hmm.
For me, basically, I think I've sort of tried to create a balance. I've not been like heavy, you know, what do you call bombarding people with
Right.
promotion on social media,
Hmm.
nor have I been totally silent. I've tried to strike a
Right.
balance. Different people, different strategies work. So some people who have this continuous hammering may see an uplift.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
somehow I also look at it from a consumer lens that, how
Hmm.
much is excess and how much sounds pushy and how much
Yeah.
sounds, reasonable. So I do that. So that's
Yeah.
the way I would put it. Have a reasonable balance is what my experience is. Not
Hmm.
zero, not excess, I believe.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. So yeah, coming to my final question now. Uh, you have done a picture book. You have done a novel.
I'm
You're
not done
working.
a picture book. I'm in the
Okay, fine.
process.
You're
So
working on it. Chalo, you're working on it. So you're working on a picture book.
yeah.
You've done a novel. You keep writing articles. You keep doing all that. What other mediums do you want to explore next?
Outside of writing, you say?
No, not. I mean, even outside of writing and even within writing. For example, a lot of
Within
people
writing. Okay.
transition into
Oh,
short stories and all of that.
no, I think, see, one thing I have sort of understood, I started off with blogging.
Hmm.
After writing the series of blogs on a lot of topics, and
Hmm.
experimenting, I figured out that I'm good at describing experiences. That's what
Right.
I felt, and that's what
Yeah.
others who were early readers, they sort of
Hmm.
told that. So I am trying to see what all I can, use this strength. So I'm trying to someday
Right.
write a travel book, someday
Hmm.
write a book describing places I visited.
Right.
Wherever there is a description element, I want to
Hmm.
jump into all those genres just to see, um, do that. Not be like you said, straight jacketed into one.
Right. Right.
So there are obviously pros and cons of these
Hmm.
approaches, but yeah, that's the idea. So Maybe I one day write a short story.
Hmm.
Someday my aim is like you have done, right? Write a
Hmm.
thriller or something, but
Right.
not. I don't think I right now have the skill set or the even the inclination right now. But someday, yes,
Hmm.
uh, just purely from stepping out of the comfort zone perspective.
Right. Absolutely.
What I feel I can easily do versus what I can't do. So that's that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thing, but of course,
Mm.
the plans are always there. It ultimately boils down to how much you can execute and
Yep.
do amongst your other things. So yeah,
All right. It was great having you on. Thank you so much for taking the time and talking to me about all of this. It's always fun talking to you about writing and the process and the business and the entire 0 to 100 of it. So, any parting words for us?
no, I think thank you. First of all, I think it was lovely interacting with you as always. We've had multiple conversations, and it's great that you're using podcasts and this videos as a medium to sort of make more people aware of this process. I think
Right.
there is a need for this, I think, where
Yeah.
people share their experiences so that others who listen, right, can get
Right.
some quick tips and insights. So I think it's a great job you're doing. I hope this becomes big for you and you bring more and more writers and share more and more learnings. I think that's the way. I think in terms of parting message, I would say for anybody first time who's planning to write a book, I think one, pick a topic you are confident about. Either it
Mhm.
could be inspired by your experience or something you do well in your work, stream, whatever, business, technical, right? Pick a topic you're confident about and just start writing. That's the way I would say.
Yeah.
And then things will fall into place. Otherwise, we
Yeah.
end up thinking, Karenge, I'm not good at it. I'm
Yeah.
not good at it. I think you would have seen it's done when
Yeah.
you have
Absolutely. All the time. All the time.
so that's the only thing I would say. Start
Yeah.
and then the words will take you somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for being here, and always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.